Yeah, that's
Oh, she's back. Oh, she's right there. Actually, we have her in the bathroom.
Okay.
No, she's not in the bathroom. She's right there.
Just
She's
can't
coming in the
tell.
door. I'm gonna scare her.
Boom. Boom.
Oh.
You
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I got one.
Just so you guys know, to get your attention, we're gonna start in just a moment, but we are recording this session, so just so you're aware, it's all like I was in that one. Just so that's why the camera or the computer's there and such. We've already begun, so we're gonna edit all this out. Alright?
People are watching.
So when it's on YouTube, it'll be edited.
Hey, okay. So, so as you know, it's the hero or sidekick one. It's kind of a weird name because it's actually about criticism and feedback. So we're gonna go over how to utilize it, whether how to give it, how to receive it, and how to utilize what's being said. So just a quick intro. My name's Kat. I'm the Western District BPM for Tau Beta Sigma.
And my name's Nick. I'm the Western District Vice President for Kappa Kappa Psi. So what comes to mind when you guys hear the words critique or feedback? Anybody? Yes.
Constructive criticism.
Yes.
Improving.
Helping. Okay. Anyone else? Anybody think?
Advice. Back there. Hey, you got two. 1, 2. Suggestions.
Can be positive too.
Okay. That's a very positive group.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
A lot of people are like negative. And,
Harsh
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah. So awesome. So we're gonna do our best to help you guys utilize any feedback and criticisms that you either give or receive. So criticism, the definition is the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes, or the analysis and judgment of the merits and faults of a literary or artistic work. I feel like the second one tends to be more what we find ourselves in, whether it be in band or in like English class or things like that. We're kind of taught to look into like the nitty-gritty details of things sometimes, or we are taught a lot of like what not to do or don't do that, you know, or pay attention to the key signature or don't miss that accidental or like don't be out of step, things like that. So I think even though you guys did have a lot of positive responses, our brains sometimes attune themselves more with the negative side of critiques. Right. So we go.
So now we're going into constructive criticism, it's a little bit of a different definition. So constructive criticism is the process of offering valid and well-reasoned opinions about the work of others, usually involving both positive and negative comments in a friendly manner, rather than an oppositional one. The purpose of constructive criticism is to improve the outcome. So you can see I bolded a couple of the words there. So there's both positive and negative involved. We're doing it in a friendly manner and overall to improve the outcome. So like I said earlier, brothers, what is your motto? Hey, sisters, what is your motto?
My sister's I am yes.
For good or bad. Hey, what so, yeah. All right. So as you can see, strive for the highest, for greater bad. We're going that next step for greater striving. Right. So that's where the whole thing is to improve the outcome. So in the sense, we're in this whole thing for a common goal to get better with one another as chapters, with whatever it is. So with constructive criticism, we can use that to make sure we grow not only as individuals, as a chapter, overall as a district.
So we have 6 steps that we feel help you do your best to deliver criticisms. So step 1 is to create safety, create a safe environment that that you and the person can be in while you're giving the criticism. So praise in public, critique in private. So if they do something well, I don't know, they could have just like done the most amazing like trash can like jump shot thing, like give them a high five and say like, hey, that was awesome. Or if they do something well in band, you know, maybe they nailed a solo or something like that. go ahead and just like give them some encouragement. But when you critique them, you don't want to necessarily scream at them from across like a formation and be like, that was awful. Like that's really bad. It kind of sets a really bad tone to the rehearsal. So you would maybe you would want to pull them aside, kind of just talk to them and just be like, hey, you know, this thing that you did was kind of wonky. Maybe you should reconsider, like, or go about it a different way. Body language can change your entire environment. If you come off as more of an imposing figure and you're more likely to intimidate them and make them put up defenses and start getting kind of maybe a little bit nervous or a little scared. So you don't want to do that because then that makes them uncomfortable. So yeah, you don't want to be towering over them like they're your minion. You want to come face to face as equals. You know, if you want, you can make it more casual. You ask them like, hey, let's go out to lunch or let's go get some coffee real fast and talk for a little bit. That way you can both sit down, get in a comfortable environment and then just kind of like talk about things casually rather than like sit them down at a table as if you're about to interrogate them and make them feel really scared. So yeah, like I said, uncomfortability equals unproductivity. So if you make them uncomfortable, they're going to focus a lot more on themselves being uncomfortable and why they're uncomfortable rather than what you're actually telling them that they need to improve on. So then they don't know how to get better.
And step 2 is be positive. So for every negative, you need a positive. Usually I like to open up with one, and it's not just a like, hey, your shirt's really cool. You want to be more direct with what it is. So even if you're just having a struggle, like, oh my God, like they didn't even tie their shoe right, they can't even do this. You got to make that extra step and find out what they're working on well and go from there. So start with the positive, work in what could be the negative or the feedback you give them. And then the most important reason why is because once you do start off with negatives or it's just like, hey, nice shirt, by the way, you did this wrong, blah, 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 blah. It's just all they're going to get, even if you're saying it well, it's just going to be, just belittle them and go, I did a bad job. I did really bad. I don't know what I'm going to do right. How can I make it better? And they're just, in a sense, from going from that ego becomes that little minion that you're yelling at. So instead of going and fighting against now a huge wall in their defense, you want to make sure you start off positive, work constructively, and good together on a good offense.
So step 3 is to be specific. Make it obvious what needs to be worked on, and being direct makes for more direct change or being more specific. It helps someone if you tell them exactly what they need to work on, instead of saying something like, oh, your marching sucks or something like that, or get in step. Just telling them like, hey, you know, maybe think more of like feeling that beat internally or getting your foot down, like when you see his hands down, like give them specific instructions that can actually help them make an improvement. Maybe it's just one little section of music that they could be like A to B, that they could be fumbling through a lot of the notes. So telling them instead of saying like, oh, you aren't that like good at playing the entire song, just tell them like, oh, sections A to B sound like they need a little work for you. Maybe, you know, slow it down and really just find out where your fingers or hands and things like that need to go to make it sound good.
And one extra thing I like about being specific is that when you're giving that specific advice and giving that direct change, you're also empowering them to make that change themselves. So instead of just doing like, you know, work in that section, but maybe doing the advice like, hey, why don't you get a metronome out and take a chance to go work on it, go slow and speed it up as you go. Okay, so I can do this on my own, I can get my metronome, I can do this and that. They have the decision to make that change now. You're gonna empower them doing that and like, hey, if you do that, next week you probably will have it down, we can work on it together if you like. So they can have that empowerment to make that difference. Now, so the next one to be immediate. Timing can make or break the feedback. And with this, it depends on the situation as well. So say if it's a pretty rough one, they already got beat up on that day with whatever the situation is, maybe it's good to air it out, wait a day or two to kind of figure it out. Make sure you know what you're going to say in the meantime, though. This is valuable time. Don't waste it. Don't just be like, oh, I'll just talk to them later, and that's it. No, try to think about it in your head. You know what? Oh, you know, this didn't work out so well. So what can I say to them, and how can I say it the best way possible? And in this way, I like to think of any way you want to talk to someone. I try to think of 5 or 6 questions that I can answer that I may be asked. So they might be like, well, what did I do wrong? What is something I can do better? Who can I contact to get this done? Where should I be there earlier? Yes or no? You want to be able to answer those yourself. No, that doesn't mean you have all the questions down. Like, I have all 5 questions down. They might throw 6 or 7 at you, and you're like, I didn't think of that. And that's okay. It's just you want to be in there as prepared as possible. And that's where the taking the time to talk to them comes in handy. And the last one's just same day to a week after, depending on the situation. Again, if it's a rough one, maybe give it a day or 2 to air out. But you don't want to go more than even a week to 2 weeks, just because now it's going to get a little hazy. Because sometimes that person that may have done something that could have been worked on didn't realize that they did. So in their back of the head, like, hey, I wasn't told anything else, so I must be doing a great job. But then you'd be like, hey, remember you did this and that? Oh, I don't know. I thought I just did good. I can't even remember. Or sometimes you might accuse of something else when you could be completely wrong as well. So keep it in a pretty immediate timeline, a week at most, and use that time efficiently to figure out what you're going to say. And yeah.
So along those lines of knowing what you're going to say, you want to be stern or assertive, but not mean. There's a fine line between the words that you choose, because sometimes you can receive feedback and criticisms, pretty like harsh ones and things like that, or ones that are put very bluntly. Maybe you have a thicker skin than most people, but not everyone is like that. So you want to be considerate of those that you're talking to, and think like, oh, can they receive feedback like I can receive that feedback, or should I find a way of putting it so that 1, that they receive it well, but 2, that they don't kind of get emotionally hurt by the way that you're saying that. And what also helps with that is remembering not to cross the line when it comes to body language, time and place, and things like that. You want to keep all the other steps into consideration to not make that person, again, feel uncomfortable or in a place where they end up putting up their defenses and possibly getting more aggressive rather than understanding what you're trying to say to them.
And then step 6 is follow up. The biggest things we can do, we might implement change, but we're not always certain if it worked well or not, is kind of backtracking on what the whole point of talking to the person was and trying to look at what the difference could be. So sometimes you can implement a change and it's going to be like, oh, it's actually worse than it was before. So you need to readdress and reevaluate. And the next thing is, of course, you did a change with it. Now was it a success? If it was, write it down. And then it's the next step of, okay, cool, we have a good standard. Now how do we raise that and get even better? So we said it again, start with highest for greater bands. You want to go above and beyond of what you're doing. So that's why it's important to make sure you're always reevaluating, following up, and writing down what worked, what didn't for the next chair, next officer, or just the next week if you're doing the safety service project or fundraiser.
So how many of us have heard of a positive feedback sandwich, compliment cookie, compliment sandwich, things like that? Okay, about half. So the compliment sandwich, it's a very fun tool that can be used when giving feedback or even teaching. It's fun, it's easy. So we start off with the top bun. Go.
Okay. I like using it for teaching, especially. So like, say for example, I could teach them sometimes. So it's gonna be like, maybe I use Tom. So hey Tom, like you want to start off with positive and then do constructive and then another positive in the end. So it's like, hey Tom, like you're doing a really great job and you're doing a great effort. But I noticed on your backstroke that you can actually, you want to enter first in with your pinky. Make sure your full extension and that really good pull at the end. But otherwise, keep up the great work and make sure keep it up. That's basically it. So I always call it a burger just because I want to make sure I think I want that constructive criticism to be meaty. I work at In-N-Out, so I'm just thinking double, let's go. So you want that positive note to be, and again, not just the nice shirt, nice tie. Look for something. Oh, their attitude is actually really good. Maybe they're not doing something so great, but they have really good attitude and their smile is awesome. So hey Tom, your attitude and smile is really great, but I need you to be more attentive with our guests. I need you to make sure you're looking at them into their eyes when you're talking to them and ushering them into the concert hall. But other than that, keep up the great work.
you know, and then that constructive criticism right there, you want to just make it as much as meaty as you can, but not so meaty that you're thinking like you went from a double to a 6x6 that you can barely hold the burger and it's just falling apart. It's gonna go over their head and I think he said to do this, that, and you know, 2 or 3 steps of what we can work on. So we're just start off nice and sweet, that intro, constructive, nice and meaty, bottom bun, ending it on a sweet note.
So not in every situation, but sometimes you will receive a backlash from the individual that you give feedback to. Has anyone ever received backlash or possibly given backlash themselves when they've been critiqued or had it? Okay, yeah, quite a lot of us. So not every scenario goes perfectly. So like Pat was saying, if you do kind of come up with answers to 5 different questions that you may consider, even if that goes kind of like how you thought, that doesn't mean the outcome will always be the result that you were expecting. We're all different individuals, so it can be unexpected, and that's why you always do want to check up on things and make sure that things are improving rather than regressing. And then welcome to the blame game.
So along with the blame game is something that I've always run into when someone does the backlash. You always see it on TV or in real life. It's right after you're confirmed about something. It's like, oh, you don't even know. Taylor didn't even get me the flyers that I needed. And then Tom forgot my pylons. And then don't even get me started with Nick. And the last one's always, and you didn't do this. And you're just, oh okay. Down there. So where that comes in, remember you're only in charge of you when you're alone. Whatever angry stuff that they're gonna be saying and they're upset and whatnot, do not take on their anger in that sense. Do not go, okay, so we're gonna throw down right now. Let's go. No, it's not making you try to rise up to the fight. It's not like this, because sometimes you don't know that maybe they did have a situation like that. Maybe Taylor did forget the flyers. Maybe Todd forgot the pylons. Nick forgot something too. And those are the issues you need to address by the time you need to address the first one. So whether it lies or not, you know, the truth or not and everything, you need to address what the issues are at hand. So okay, we can get to that soon, but let's figure this out. And the best part is that you want to make sure you're working together, because now that you've actually heard them rant, they might go, oh, someone's gonna say from my view. But sometimes it might not be that either, because now it's going to be like, no, you need to fix this now. And you're going to get that backlash where they just burst. They're going to say the F you, the you're S, B, C, whatever alphabet. And again, you're in charge of you and you're alone. So make sure you keep it classy. All right. So just hear them out. We're not going tough. We're just listening. And of course, worst ones, you know, besides actually getting into a fight, is that they're going to blow up and run away, walk away. Let them take that breather. Along with that breather, sometimes you might get that backlash where it goes all the way around town, where it's, oh my God, you have no idea. Taylor forgot the flyers. Like, oh my God. Okay, so did you know? Like, okay, so maybe you can yell at me, but Taylor was the one that forgot the flyers. Like, she yelled at me, and I'm like, oh my God, Taylor. Hey, did you guys know that Taylor? No. Okay, you're gonna get that, and you're gonna, if you're that brother or sister on the other side, and you're hearing this stuff, you're just gonna be like, you know, oh, it's really unfortunate. Let it die down. Do not spread the rumors. Do not just like, yeah, let's beat up Taylor for forgetting those flyers. We love Taylor, okay? She made the flyers, don't worry. And then, so just keep it classy whatever end you are on. And overall, do not allow the unknown stop you from addressing the issues. How many of us have issues with confrontation? Because a lot of times it depends who it is too, right? It's your best friend, might be a little serious. It's someone you just really are not too big a fan of, so it's even worse that you need to go and address something with them. Or it could be a family member and such, and your brother or sister. But do not let that stop you from addressing the issue, because once you do that, you're stopping their growth. You're stopping your growth as a relationship with one another. You're stopping their growth as a brother or sister, as an individual. So once you stop that, you're stopping also the growth of whatever that issue could have been fixed for that service project fundraiser. So remember, strive for the highest for greater brands. You're stopping those models from following through. So make sure you're taking that next step, confront the issue, take the time to think about it, no matter what backlash you may receive. And if you do get the blow up backlash, you can always talk to them the next day or two once things are settled. And usually on those ones, make it a little more casual, like, hey, let's just sit on this bench and talk it out.
So most of the time when you go to give feedback to someone, you are also opening the door to feedback yourself. Ways to help receive feedback better is body language. You don't want to start like slouching or crossing your arms, looking at your watch, like, or cell phone, things like that. You don't want to start seeming disinterested. Well, one, because you shouldn't. Most of the time when people are giving you feedback as well, it is stuff that maybe you didn't know, which I'm gonna skip to the third bullet, understand their perspective. So like you see someone and see something about them that they might notice themselves, it works the other way as well. So they might see something about you that you might not notice. So you want to be open-minded. So number two, you want to be open-minded to listening to what they have to say, because what they're saying, even maybe on a tiny level, will help you grow as an individual, as a brother or sister, as an active member, and then eventually help your organization grow. And you do want to work together to find the best solution. So if you were to go give someone feedback and then they were to give feedback to you, maybe either work together and make your kind of your goals for your improvement intertwine and have them kind of ascend together, or maybe just use each other as kind of like goal checkers, like, hey, we talked about this the other day, how are you doing? Like, are you watching the way that you say certain things to certain people? Are you have you practiced your part so that like it's not going to, or that it'll sound better the next time we rehearse? Things like that, like utilize each other and work together to reach your goals. And then always remember to thank them for the feedback, because in the end, we're always trying to just help each other grow and make improvements and become better. So thanking them along the way shows that you appreciate them helping you become a better person.
Okay, so next one is asking for feedback. So it's more of a group setting. So the first one would be if you're going to do it for a chapter discussion. The first thing I always think is definitely okay for a game is the disclaimer. So starting off, hey brothers or sisters, or both brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about the service project we did last weekend, and I would like to know your opinions, but please, we want to have constructive criticism. Make sure you make the note of that. If you believe something was dumb or stupid, please explain why. Because you're still gonna get, even after the disclaimer, it's why I thought it was dumb. Why did you think it was dumb? It just was. It was really stupid. Thank you for your feedback. Go on. Keep it classy. So one thing I do like to do is set a time limit for discussion, and make sure you ask your presidents and usually your whole executive board as well to make sure it's okay. This is just a courtesy thing, because you don't always know whether you're a chair or an officer, or you're just a member who just randomly volunteered to do something. You want to make sure that you have the time in meeting to have a discussion. You can find out, oh, actually, the VPM is doing a really big PME this week, and we've been working on it. We want to do that, but we can try to do it at the end of the meeting. Cool. Sometimes you want to make sure to keep it as soon as possible so it stays fresh, and maybe, oh, can we alter it around so maybe VPM could go next week? All right, cool. So again, it's just a courtesy thing for you and for everyone else. And the time limit is if it's just a small reception, you're like, hey, I just want to go over it, 5 to 10 minutes. Even ask your parliamentarian and your president's time, you guys, you're good to go. And then if it's a bigger project, I want to make sure we only do 20 minutes on it and go from there. And then, of course, take your notes, analyze better results for next time. If you're just doing the discussion but not taking any notes, there is no point for you to have discussion. You're wasting everyone's time. The whole point is to get the information back, take it calmly and classy, and then analyze it and reevaluate. This is where you get to implement any change that's needed, highlight any great things, again, what's bad to good, and then what's good to great. The next one, surveys. It's online or paper. They have different stuff on Google, the SurveyMonkey, different ones online. You can Google and stuff too. So I put anonymous just because how many of us feel okay with putting our name on a piece of paper with all of our feedback on a project to that other person? For sure. So you're okay with them knowing it's you. So not too many in this room. Yeah, it's been different all day too. So I think it's okay to have the anonymous thing. I think it's a respectful thing of like, you know, I feel more comfortable to keep it anonymous. I know sometimes we're like, oh, we're brothers and sisters. We should be honest and truthful. And we should be able to own up to certain things. But it's not always just to own up. Sometimes just a respect thing. Like I would like to keep it anonymous just for that. But another reason why it's important to keep names is like I can be like, oh, you know what? Blah, 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 I don't really get this. Nick, can you please explain why? Oh, so he can then you can go backtracking and get a different explanation if you're sorry. And again, with all these online ones and such, you can actually pretty much easily make it into graphs. Usually have set up for you. And again, takes notes of the data and we suggest for next time. Most important part, if you're gonna do it, leave your notes behind. It's not, and another good part with it being online, it's easy to transfer to the next officer or next chairperson. You want to make sure it stays in your records, what worked, what didn't, reevaluate together. And again, thank everyone for their feedback, especially if it's an open meeting. Make sure to thank you for everything else. You may contact us after the meeting if you have any other questions or suggestions. Same with this. If you have any other questions, suggestions, something we didn't hit on the survey, let us know. And that's it.
So we've prepared 4 different scenarios for you guys to kind of talk amongst yourselves about. I think there are 28 people in here. So we should have 4 groups of 7. That's good. Yeah. So we'll do 4 groups of 7. Maybe since I know a lot of you are from either the same chapter or something like that, go ahead and find a group of 7 that aren't of your chapter and maybe not even of your organization. So why don't you guys go ahead and do that really fast? Maybe we can have a group. Try to come to the front 4 rows and then a group over there.
We'll do like 1, 2.
I guess we'll break it down 1, 2, 3. There's so much BO right here.
I would do that.
Okay.
Hey.
Left side.
What?
Yes.
It's all about aesthetic.
Symmetry.
I mean, you wanted to
Okay, everyone. So do we have one group right here?
We have a developing one, two.
We have a developing group over there. So one of
Yes.
All right. So
All of them?
we're going to give each group one scenario. So what to keep in mind is just we want you guys to talk about how you would approach the individuals in these scenarios, like to help them improve and things like that. And so we'll start with scenario 1. We'll give to you guys over there. An active member attends meetings but rarely attends service events / fundraisers. How would you approach them in that situation? Sometimes in meetings, maybe they look a little disinterested in things. Maybe they're on their phone. So go ahead and consider little things like that. Scenario 2. An active member has an attitude issue. When talking to others, they don't consider the other recipient's feelings. People may describe them as abrasive, blunt, or they're just being honest, or that's how they describe themselves. So little things like that.
So we'll give the back corner scenario 3. So it's gonna be an active member has been acting out during rehearsals. So this could be disruptive, could be having their phone out. This could be on the field or off the field, talking back, just talking in general, not being prepared. So how would you address that one? And then for scenario 4, active member needs to understand how to delegate, ask for help. So you guys here, so maybe it's someone that you see maybe being a little too overwhelmed, needs a little more help with their projects, or has the mentality of
if I'm the one that's doing it, it's gonna be wrong. If no one else can do it other than me, also it won't be done right type of mentality. Okay, so go ahead and you have a few minutes to discuss it, and then we'll break down and get your answers.
Active member has a problem. Yeah, so it would be something like, I felt a little bit hurt.
So like you rewrite it, every single week, so get on task, I'm definitely probably the person who's on people aren't doing we're not sure if there's something going on or not, but yeah, whatever you kind of do it. So I think it's very clear about that.
So, and this is obviously like very
Sounds like a very true. Because like.
Acknowledging that maybe they have and you obviously you're trying to see it and then sort of open it up and yeah, it's awful when you're in conversation because then the conversation is more like you have more of a dialogue for us to be part of you get involved and you can get away with it. It's well, you get raising. So you feel this way, but it's whatever. Whatever. You know, after that. So I guess you don't always have to oh, you did a good job, something like that. I mean, yeah.
I actually I don't forget being awkward and be off.
Alright, you guys have about one more minute?
If anybody else has something easy in my head, in my like it's gonna be one person. Yeah. And so so my pitch is like there isn't but I'm more they're
Almost all of that. Very good. And theoretically.
Alright, go ahead and finish that last thought, and when you're ready, go ahead and just look forward.
No. So.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go over what we've come up for each scenario. So let's go ahead and go backwards. So was number 4 over here, right? Number 4, the active member needs to understand how to delegate, ask for help. What do we have?
One thing is like sending on the survey to your chapter and seeing like who would want to like help out the person. So it's but like also like on the side of the person who do the hamburger thing, like you're doing a really good job of the work, but you seem like you're a little like overstressed, like you want some help, you like kind of seem like you're helping them, not saying like, oh, you're overloading yourself.
Let's go with number 2. Where is it? Right here?
Yeah.
I was right.
So I think, okay, sure.
You both can speak. Wait, not at the same time.
So I think that showing them compassion and showing them steps and ways to work towards, like, let's say you're dealing with this person, showing them ways to work towards making it more positive, more constructive, but also offering them ways, or showing them that the way that they're impacting other people isn't necessarily the way that they want to get results. Like, let's say they're having negative outlashing towards other people. It's going to make other people feel bad and probably cringe and reside within themselves rather than working with themselves and wanting to become better. So showing them that other ways and other types of constructive criticism will get them the results faster, because those people are probably the people that are like, hey, I want to do this. I want other people to perform up to my expectations and my competence, and I don't feel successful if not everyone is on the same page. So showing them that they can do that in a different way is probably.
Did you have something to add?
I'm just making sure you approach them in like a very considerate and calm manner, not like, hey, you have a problem, or like, hey, what's going on? Like, just like start a conversation with them normally, and then see if you can figure out kind of why there's an attitude issue, because it's not always a direct reflection of the organization. There might be like other things going on in their life, or like they've noticed a problem and like they're just backlashing against something that they see as wrong. So they don't see their actions as like unjustified. So just like approaching them in a very like
Read.
We kind of came to a consensus where we should like remind the person, hey, you're a part of this building, you're part of the sisterhood. Our goal is to make the band better, and so be an example to everyone else. Put your phone away, focus on rehearsal instead, because being on your phone, you're just sort of focusing on yourself, and you have to remember, remind them that they're part of the entire band. Be active during rehearsal.
And then number 1.
So basically, I thought this one could be kind of like a lot of backlash because you go on this and blah blah. You have to come at it like nice, do like the whole burger thing, tell them that you really appreciate that they're coming to meetings and all that, but maybe just a little more input would be nice, and tell them, our next service project is here. It'd be really nice if we could see you there. We really need your help, and then end it with something. Just let them know that you really want them there. Why there?
Does anyone in, I guess, the different scenarios have anything to add for one of the ones that they weren't a part of? Maybe. No.
Are there any other questions about today's lecture?
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for coming. I know it's the last workshop of, or at least of the 4 blocks, so we're all kind of tired. I think fell asleep. So, but thank you for coming.
If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to come up to Nick and I throughout the weekend or contact us anytime.
Facebook.